Hey folks, how you guys doing today? I just wanted to make a little video today, from out here in our neck of the woods. Just a little something to think about, and that's sphere of influence. What is your sphere of influence? I have had to think about this quite a bit over the years. My sphere of influence is sphere of influence. I'm going to say it a little bit slower there. I learned, I think it was like 2005, I got a really interesting opportunity to get certified in the 7 habits of highly effective people. And in that course, one of the 7 habits that was very impactful to me, that I kind of let slip away from me, to be honest, and I really put it on the back burner and actually thought that it was, good, was my sphere of influence. Well, in recent years, I've been reminded, and I've been, actively working to suss out what my sphere of influence is. And we all have to do this, but when you put a name to it, when you put a language to it, it really activates in a different way. And when I activated it in the thought process of, okay, the struggles I've had building businesses over the past several years can really directly be attributed to my sphere of influence that I thought was one way, and in fact it is another way. And then enter in all the trials that we have gone through culturally for the past several years, and then enter in 2020, and then enter in all these different social deviations, divisions, immersions. There's so many different factors that has made me take a step back and say, okay, not only look at my sphere of influence, but understand what sphere of influence is it that I need, that I require at the stage of my life, and the stage of working to build my businesses. What sphere of influence is required at this level? And thank God, over the past few years, I've met a lot of very interesting people, very intriguing people. But in the last year or so, I've really met a few people that have actually made me have to reevaluate and up the level of my sphere of influence, and understand that my sphere of influence is growing now, but it's growing with newer responsibilities, newer levels, to what I even thought I needed or wanted. And so, but as I look at my sphere of influence now and where it's going and what's required for me and my businesses and my brands, it's very necessary for me to, really be more thoughtful to myself and say, okay, my sphere of influence at this point are very weak. At this point, it's improving. What is your sphere of influence? Well, your sphere of influence are those people around you that you have influence in, that you have influence with, that you have influence with these individuals, whether it's family, friends, work, professional, what have you, vendors, customers, what have you. Your sphere of influence are those individuals that when you communicate with them, you don't have to explain yourself at the beginning of every conversation. You don't have to introduce yourself on a regular basis to them in order to get some form of communication, going or through. There's an understanding. There's enough of an understanding on both sides of the social contract that this is where we are. Let's go. So this is your sphere of influence. This is the those that you encounter with you intentionally. Intentionally and productively. Your sphere of influence, because your sphere of influence can be, quite the other way. It could be negative. Your sphere of influence is toward only negative traits and negative, environments and negative characteristics, and your results are inherently, negative. So this is just a little bit of insight about, our sphere of influence. Our spheres of influence. Just the thought and the conversation. You got to say, well, what is my sphere of influence? Well, I have it's not just about, not looking to be, part of, the popular crowd or this crowd or that, but who am I able to positively influence? So when I come in contact with this person, this person, this person, am I bringing value to them, or am I extracting value? Am I am I adding to them, or am I subtracting from them? And then vice versa. Are they adding to me, or are they subtracting from me? Now, this part is a lot more delicate, because people have been on this canceling people thing for the past few years, and me personally, I've spoken to several people about this over the past few years. This throwing away of people situation is going to catch up to you. I understand, that people, aren't aligned, and people aren't, they use the best fit and all this, that, and the other. But here's the thing, people are still people. God has created us, and so, we have those of us that are committed to walking out, our lives in our faith. We have an obligation, to serve, serve where we can, when we can, as often as we can. And sure, there are people that require more effort than others. There are those people that have negative attributes and really complicate situations. But this is part of leadership, though. I'm gonna be honest with you. No one ever said leadership was easy. No one ever said that, if you're gonna lead people, that everybody's gonna be aligned with you, that everybody's gonna be on the same page, that everybody's gonna be, that's gonna like you. I'm gonna be honest with you. I've employed hundreds of people. I personally have employed hundreds of people over the past, 24, 25, 26, 30 years or whatever, just different, different aspects at different times. Started out, when I'm working with my father and everything, employing the couple of few workers that he has around, all the way up to running, full operations, and employing, up to 30 people at a time, and really, understanding that, hey, here's the thing, I need these results out of these folks, and out of these folks, half of them don't like me at all, the other half do like me. That's life. That's just life. I'm still going to treat everybody the same. I'm still going to treat them with respect and dignity, and I'm still going to get the results out of them that I need to get out of them. And I'm still going to, diligently seek their strengths and point out their weaknesses with them, person to person, never in front of people. As a leader, I'm very adamant about you discipline in private and you celebrate in public. Period. But that'll be for another video. But I'm talking about sphere of influence. And so, but we're always building our sphere of influence. And through this process of employing everybody that I've employed, even to this day, a good handful of those people, if we had the opportunity, would work for me again. And that's for me, that's part of my sphere of influence. The fact that now, if I had hundreds of people, maybe a few handfuls of people would work for me now, but the fact of the matter is the fact that 20 years later, 20 years later, somebody that worked for me at one point would still work for me today if I was able to put them in a position of employment. And I still think about them constantly. Trust me. In my mind, I'm like, as soon as I create a situation where this person can succeed in this position, I'm calling them. I'm pulling them in. Because the bottom line about it is I respect my sphere of influence. And so today's conversation is about sphere of influence. And like I said before in my other videos, it's a beautiful day outside, and hopefully you can hear me okay. The wind is blowing, and it's too beautiful not to be outside. So hopefully this is a little bit encouraging, gives you a little insight, and just understand your sphere of influence is very important for your growth, and you really have to be very, 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 very active about developing and growing and nurturing your sphere of influence and not taking it for granted. So talk to you guys later and say, here on Well, that's the conversation. So let's, have a conversation. Tell me what you think, and let's talk. Talk to you later. God bless.